a new toy showed up. Yeah, this is a 2010 450. Burning oil. A lot of oil. A lot of oil. I'll probably stick my finger in here and dig some oil. Oh, yeah. A lot of oil. If you look closely at it here, I tried to... I did mention to the owner that... Alright, 2010 yz450f. Burning oil. Burning a lot of oil. Yeah, you're not going to see nothing down there. No, it's burning lots of oil. Let's bust into her, see what it needs. Piston, ring, cylinder, head, what? Okay, cool. Okay, cool. Let's get into her. Hey, yikes. Ooh, air intake. Just like everything, putting the nuts and bolts back where I got them from. I hate losing bits and pieces. Okay, one side. Side number 2. Okay. Should not be that tight. Dropping it. Am I supposed to have one on that side? Yes, no? Oh, I'm supposed to have one on that side. First piece is in the bin. Plastic. Mismatched hardware. Seat off. Yeah, I guess. Oh. It's not hardware. It's kind of a joke. An 8 here. I can go back on there. I can go back on there. This can go back in here. down and gets pinched. So you get that. Taking on this fuel line there. So because it's fuel injected, it's got that little collar on there. You got to pull the collar off. Very, very simple design. Amazingly, it can stand quite a bit of pressure too. So you get your fuel pump right here. You got this special lock. You got to slide the lock off. There it goes. Without breaking the lock. There we go. Special little lock tab on there you gotta pull off first. Ah, there we go. Now I should be able to slide that down. You gotta pinch these things. Both sides to pull it off. So I need a pair of hose pliers would be nice. Aye. I can smell gas. I'm gonna work on this, get the tank off there, start getting stuff off, gotta get the coolant out, gotta get the rads off, you can bust into the top end. Yeah. All naked, time for a bath. Spray some of this degreaser on here, this stuff, biodegradable. It's supposed to be for engines, so hopefully it's good with all the wiring and stuff on here. Oh man, this stuff burns. Okay, set you up and see if I can't get the camera wet. So here we are. It's all apart. It's getting there. Exhaust is off, throttle body's off. I have taken the bolts off of that. I have not broken that yet. It's loose. I wanted to take the cover off here, but have a look at that. Yuck. So I don't know, I think I'm I might have to cut a slot into that. Use a flathead on that. That looks like it got put on there pretty tight. Try vice grips, I guess. Even this one down here. Yeah, that's no good. Hopefully I don't have to take that whole cover off, because that's kind of gross, right? I don't want to drain the oil out of this bike. But there we are. That is pretty nasty. Alright, so I finally got that plug off. That was a fun chore. I got both those plugs off. Yeah, they're going to have to be replaced. They are pretty chewed if they weren't pretty bad. So here's the one here. I had to take a chisel, and I had to grab the corner with the chisel to knock it off. And same with this guy here. I had to grab it on the top of the chisel and knock it off, because that's completely stripped. You'll never get anything in that. No tools, no nothing. But so I want to take those plugs off, because you know, you want to set it the top dead center before you start messing with any of this stuff. You want to set the timing on it. So top dead center on all your timing marks before you take it apart. That way when you put it back together, as long as nothing's moved, you should be able to put it back together top dead center. Yeah, I thought maybe it skipped a tooth, but it didn't. Now, I watched a video last night of a guy who was tearing one of these down, and you couldn't really see the timing marks. So I'll see if I can do this here. See if you can see the timing marks. So you're going to look in the crank and see if I can't whitewash it out. Now I'm holding the camera. Now, this is going to be near impossible. I need to hold the flashlight here. I need an extra arm. I need a pointer here. So I can do this without dropping my camera. So I got my pointer. Ouch. Okay, let's see if I can get you down in here and you can see this. Shadow. Oh. Okay, you can kind of see it there. There we go. So you want to line, there's a timing mark in here. There's a little notch. Actually, we're out just ever so slightly. I'll bring that back here. It's all lined up and you can see it perfectly. Okay, so what you're going to look at, you can see it right now. Okay, so you're looking at this notch right here. There's a notch right here cut into the hole, and in here, right there, there's a little line, little notch on the flywheel. These things are weird. It's got like a reverse flywheel on it. So it's really hard to tell what you're looking at in there, but I mean, you look in there and you can see the stator. It just makes it easier to take apart. Oh, that's even better. Let's see if I can zoom in on that. Oh yeah, there you go. So you can see the notch here. The notch right here. Okay, that's a timing mark, and then you can look right there. That is also a timing mark. So these guys are lined up. That's your crank, right? That's your flywheel, your crank, and then come up here to your timing gears, your cam gears. See, there's a dot right here. There's a dot right there, and if you look over here on the exhaust cam, I don't know if you're going to be able to see this here. Oh, there it is right there. You can see that dot. That dot right there on the exhaust cam. Both of those dots should be level with the top of the case here, the top of the head, right across the top. And also, if you read the manual, it says between this dot, you can't see it, between that dot there and that dot, there should be 27 pins. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to 27. And the 27th pin should be this one here, right before the mark. And so this bike did not skip a tooth, but this is something you want to check, you know, sort of routinely check. There's a couple things. Now the next thing I want to check is I want to check and see the last time the valves were set. So I wanted to show you something cool. So I was able to go online. Not a lot of people know this. I go online and I downloaded onto my phone. I downloaded a service manual for a Yamaha. Onto my files, and right here, you see that? yz450f owner's manual, service manual. Open it up, and it is exactly like you would buy from the Yamaha dealership. So then I'm going to go down. I'm going to have to do some searching on it. Right, we got, so that's a 2010, right? 2010 yz450. We're gonna have to go down to engine, and I'm gonna look for the valve clearances, and then we're gonna get a feeler gauge. I'm gonna get a feeler gauge, and I'm gonna check the clearance in the valves. So what that means is you see your cam caps here. You look down there, you can see the cam lobe. So between the cam lobe and the cam cap, which is underneath of there, under the cam cap is a little button, and it's a machine button, and it's a certain thickness. You can get different buttons, and that will set your clearance between your cam and your cam cap. And so these engines are, it's hard to say why they did it this way, but most engines in the head, they have hardened valve seats. Hardened valve seats, and what gets eaten away is the valve face versus that. And sometimes you have to lap the valves or machine the valves, which is fine. In these aluminum heads, that valve seat is just machined into the head, and after so many hours, that valve seat gets worn away, and your clearances gets tighter and tighter between the cam lobe, the cam bucket, and the valve. And what happens is that valve will stay open a little bit. If you have a valve that's open, it's going to get burned, and when a valve burns, it loses little bits and pieces, and then your engine will explode, basically. Bits and pieces everywhere. So you always want to check that. And you'll notice too, you'll be riding, and all of a sudden you won't have the same power, and it just won't run right. It'll pop, it'll bang. So you always want to check that. I believe the manual said like every 20 hours or something like that. You want to get in there and just check the clearances on that. So I'm going to look at the book, get my feeler gauge, and I'm going to check out those the clearances there on the cam. Before I take anything apart, I want to see what it's set at, so that way when I put it back together, I know that the head is right, and Buddy won't have to order more parts. So let's say I take it all apart, he gets a new cylinder, a new head gasket, base gasket, get it all back together, and oh shoot, your cam buttons are too big. They got to get small. You got to get smaller cam buttons. Well, then we got to take it all apart again, reorder the parts, order new parts, and it's just a pain in the butt. So that's where we are. So I'm going to look in the manual. I'm going to get some feeler gauges. And we're going to check the clearances on those cams. So I was doing some digging on the manual, and I found it right there. So valve clearance, cold. Never check these warm, because remember, heat metal expands when it gets hot. So look at that. Intake valve. So intake valve, intake cam is on this side. Come on, focus. Intake cam, exhaust cam. It's kind of, this bike is weird. It's kind of reversed, right? Usually your exhaust is on here, but if you look at the cap, right, it says exhaust, intake. So intake cam here, we're going to look at the intake cam. And I like to go to the highest spec, right? So we're looking at the highest spec. I don't do things in millimeters, I do thousandths. So the highest spec will go to 6,000ths. If I get my feeler gauge and I can put a 6,000ths feeler gauge in there, there's too much clearance. So I go right to the top end. So it is, what is that, 5,000? We'll go 6,000ths. So get my feeler gauge. These are always fun. Okay, there's 6,000ths right there. Okay. Focus, Mr. Camera. Come on. Yeah, see it there? 0.006, that's 6,000ths. If I can put that 6,000ths between the cam lobe and the cam cap, that means that there's too much clearance. And looking at this engine, I'm going to say probably not. These probably won't fit. Oh, look at that. Way too much clearance. That fit in there like nobody's business. So that's no good. So because that clearance is so far out, we're gonna have to get a bigger button. So that means that what I need to do is I need to find how thick, how big that actually is. So we'll just jump her right up. We'll put a 12,000ths in there. Oh my. I can put a 12,000ths in there. Oh, that is not good. Let's see if I can do that again here. You need like a special type of cam, or special type of feeler gauge that's kind of got a bend to it. I don't want to bend my feeler set. That should not be able to do that. Yeah, that's, holy smokes, is that ever loose. Well, this engine would clatter. So that one's good. This engine is a 5 valve, I think. Is it a 5 valve? Oh no, it's only a 4 valve. Okay. I thought this was a 5 valve engine. Well, this makes it easier to work on. Yeah, I was thinking this was a 5 valve. Fantastic. Finally, Yamaha did something right. So this guy fits in there nice and tight. A little bit of drag. So I'm going to say that is probably a 10 thousandths clearance here. We'll put an 11 in there. 12 fits, but it's a little bit tight. There's a weird feel that you have to get for using these. Yeah. So that's Jesus. I should not be able to put the big feeler gauge in there. Somewhere between 11 and 12. 12 goes in there, but you gotta shove her in there. Okay, so now because this is out of spec, I gotta get a paper and a pencil, and I gotta write this stuff down. Hey, you know, I just had a thought. What if when this engine was taken apart last and rebuilt, the guy who did it switched the cam caps? So there's more to my theory. I'm finding out that it is possible that my theory is correct, because now I got my 6,000 shim. You're not going to see 6,000 shim, and I can't get my 6,000 shim into here. So that leads me to think that possibly one of the cams caps on the exhaust is wrong, which would be very interesting, but would make sense. So we're going to go with, did a 6, how about a 4? See if a 4 thousandths fits in there. Oh yeah. Yep, 4 fits. 6 doesn't, but 4 does. Okay, so then I'm going to say we are at 5 thousandths. Let's see if a 5 goes in there. Five does not fit. Down the back side here. Huh. Oh, 5 does not fit. So let's go back to the 4. Stick the 4 thousandths back in there. My 4 thousandths is broken because I bent it. Oh. Shit, that's all broken. Like a little razor blade. 4 fits. So let's look at a 5. 5 thousandths. Okay, this goes in here. This one's in spec. Okay, it's 4.5. It's somewhere between 4 and 5. That is within spec. So it is about 0.0045. So as you see, I've got everything drawn out over here. I'm starting my diagram. So you see this one is way out, intake, that's the front of the engine, so we turn it like this. So this one is in spec. So it's anywhere between 3.9 and 5.9, 4.5 or somewhere right in the middle. So this one is good, this one is bad, this one's too loose. That'll generate a clackety clickety clack sound inside that engine. So my guess is this is an exhaust one. Because if we look at the exhaust clearances are 79 to 98 thousandths, or sorry, 7.9. So 7 thousandths, 7 and 9 10 thousandths, and 9 and 8 10 thousandths. So we're gonna check the exhaust. So like I did before, I'm gonna go to the highest end of that spec, and the exhaust should be bigger. It should always be bigger. It wears more. Okay, we'll go right to an 11. So if 11 fits in the exhaust, we know that the exhausts are too tight or too loose. Oh, way too loose. That 11 just slips right in there, both sides. Oh yeah, way too loose. So, let's see how big they actually are. There was 11, we'll put a 12 in there. We'll put a 12 in there. Ah, 12 just slides right in there. Why? I don't know why this head is so loose. I don't know why this top end is so loose. But when I took it for a burn, it sure did rattle. Well, that one is a 12. I don't think a 13 would go in there. Let's see, about a 13 here. Oh, Jesus. Those are way wide. Way wide. Oh my God, 13 fits just fine. Okay, well, let's go right to 18. Are you freaking kidding me? Who built this engine? Why do those fit? Those should not fit in there. A little bit in disbelief. That 18 should not have fit in there. Okay, well, let's go right to 20. I hope it doesn't. $20 does not fit, finally. Holy shit. Holy crap. No wonder this top end rattled so much. Well, let's keep going up, I guess, until we find what size it is. Let's go with 6. So let's go 26. Hopefully this does not fit. All right, something's wrong here. There's no way. There's no way that's gonna fit. No way. What is there's like the cam button must be completely missing. What the heck is going on? Okay, well, let's go 31. Hooray, I found one that doesn't actually fit. Okay, so 31 does not fit. Okay, let's go back to 13, go to 8. Okay, let's go 28. Okay, 28 fits, and it's tight. So it is, I'm gonna say it's right around, it's 28 thousandths. Holy mother of God. Okay, well let's do 26. Okay, 26. 26 is nice and snug. It's got a nice little bit of drag. It is 26 thousandths for that exhaust. Holy crap. So I gotta figure it out. The one cam is 26, the other cam is 24. Yikes. Yikes. So now I'm gonna take the chain tensioner off. Now that we got the clearances, we know that we got some work to do on the top end. Take the chain tensioner off, pull the cams out. So what's next? Just gonna make a Frankenstein. Say, hey, Dr. Feelgood. Okay, head's ready to come off. I figure we should do this together so you can all see that nastiness. Alright, my gut's telling me it's a blown head gasket. Oh, this doesn't look too bad in here at all. Lots of water though, everything, all over everything. Oh, look at all the water. Look at all that coolant in there. Oh, look right here. Check this out. What do you see right there? It's a water droplet. Yep, so I'm going to say blown head gasket. I mean, this really doesn't look that bad at all. And a blown head gasket, because you've got oil ports, a blown head gasket can put oil into your combustion chamber. Other than that though, this head looks pretty darn good. Yeah, not even looks not the worst one I've ever seen. Oh wow, look at it, just scrapes right off of there. It's good. So at least it was cleaned properly. So I don't want to misplace the dowels. Just put the head right down here in the bucket. The dowels for the head. I guess that'll be on there. Now we can check the piston. Just give the piston a wiggle test here. Oh yeah, that piston's pretty worn out. It's moving quite a bit. Can you see it? See what you can see here. Yeah, it's just pretty worn out. And this head. Oh, look right here. Look, it's all wet right here. Yeah, and that right there is an oil port. So that would account for burning the oil. Pull this guy off of here. You're gonna have to pull this timing chain guide up and out. And that is gonna go in a bag, so I'm gonna get dirty. And this one should be bolted down below. Yeah, and that cam can fall down there because I'm taking the rest of this thing apart. And you can actually see if you look at the, you can see all the water droplets on there. I think the head gasket was reused, which you should be able to do that with the multi-layer steel gasket. That's what these are, but I wouldn't. You can look right here. You can see all the water coming off of there. There's a water droplet. All these little guys are water droplets. Blown head gasket. Cool. Here's the cylinder. It actually doesn't look too bad. No big scores or anything in the cylinder. There's some grooves in it. Yeah, I don't know if this cylinder is savable. I'd love to have a dial bore gauge and I can measure this out. Yeah, it looks okay. So on closer inspection, this cylinder is toast. It has got quite a bit of scoring. It's going to be hard to see with the light. Light kind of whitewashes it. But it's, yeah, it needs a cylinder. Which is a bummer because these are like $500 for one. But yeah, you can see down by my finger right here, if you run your eyeballs up and down, you can see all that vertical scratching in there, and there's no crosshatch left. Yeah, and rings. I pulled the rings, pulled the piston off, pulled the rings off, checking the ring gap. It's yeah, it's like a hot dog in a hallway. It's supposed to be looking at the book here. So I put the second ring in. So the second ring end gap should be 14 thousandths. So here I got 20 thousandths. There's only supposed to be 14, right? Feeler gauges. Okay, we'll put it in here. Watch this. Watch. Woo! Like a hot dog in a hallway. Big wide gap. Yeah, so this engine's worn out. But I found something else really actually pretty cool that I have never seen before. So this thing was burning oil like a son of a gun. Have a look at that oil control ring. Right there. You see that oil ring? It's going to be hard to show. See how that oil ring, so the oil ring has got the squiggly part which goes in the middle and then a top ring and a bottom ring. Well, check that out. That ring spun. Well, rings are supposed to spin, but what I think happened is whenever this engine was put back together, the ring gaps were put together. There's another good look at it right there. And that would be why she was burning oil. That's hilarious, man. I can't say I've ever seen that before. That's a first. But that, you see, that's what it's supposed to look like, right? You got your two scrapers, one on top, one on the bottom, and then your collection ring, which is in the middle. And then they flip like that. Crazy. Crazy. And I busted into the head. The clearances, I got everything written down here. The clearances for these exhausts were way out. So I got to call in, and I need some bigger buttons. These are the buttons I need. So I need a 3.7, a 3.5, and a 2.12. But I found something else that's not so great. These are the exhaust valves. You look right at the very tip. It's got this sharp edge. Now I don't know if that's just wear or somebody nipped these valves, but ooh, that can't be good for the valve. But that tip and that tip, if you look very closely, the one on the right has got less at the top. So you're looking, I got my pointer, you're looking from the keeper, where the keepers go. So this little pit on top here, that's bigger than that one. And this valve is quite a bit shorter. And that would account for why the exhaust had such big clearance. The valves are, I suppose they're in fairly decent shape. There's no big cracks or nothing, but if I can't get buttons that are that big, because looking online, they only go up to like 2.5. So we might be getting new valves. The intake is great. But you look at the top, it's not a sharp edge. Not a sharp edge. It's in decent shape. Actually, this one here was the only valve. So the front left intake valve is the only one that was in spec. Everything else was just wildly out of spec. And these two valves are not that much different. So this side here I'll do with a button just fine, but I think I need new exhaust valves. Nah, yeah, that happens. You know, it's a 2010. Oh, and when I said every 20 hours to check your valves, no, that's incorrect. It says either 3 races or 7.5 hours. You should pop the valve cover off and look. Now, being a Yamaha and being built very well, there's some guys out there with 50 hours on the engine, 50 hours on an engine, wide open throttle, lots of giver, and it doesn't get worn. And another thing I'd like to correct myself is, I thought these heads didn't have hardened valve seats. These heads do have hardened valve seats. So if you look right here, you see there's a line right there. There's a line that goes across. This is a hardened valve seat pressed into the head. It's very hard to tell because it's very tight tolerances, very tight clearances. But yes, this does have hardened valve seats pressed into the head. So that's a good thing. Alright, well there we are. So we need parts. Needs a cylinder, piston. I don't think I want to reuse this piston. It's got some scoring in it right there. And you know, with the Nickel coated cylinder, once the crosshatch is gone, it's not even worth the risk to try to rehone that, because it doesn't take much to flake that stuff off. And once it's off, it's done. I mean, we could probably send the cylinder out to get redone, but you're probably looking at a couple months, maybe 3 months. It'll be roughly half the price of a new cylinder. Yeah, I don't know. It's all up to the owner. It's all up to whatever he wants to do. But yeah, the rings are worn out, piston's worn out. I mean, the piston's got quite a bit of slop. Quite a bit of slop there. I mean, these tolerances, these clearances are like very tight. I think the piston to bore diameter. See here, piston to bore diameter is piston to bore diameter. Piston bore, oh no, that's the pin. It's very tight. I know it's like 1 and 5/10,000, so like barely any movement at all. You don't want this piston slapping around in there when you're running it. And yeah, parts list is growing. So new valves, the head can be cleaned, and new valves will have to be lapped in. That's easy. New cylinder, see what he wants to do with the cylinder. Definitely needs a new piston. And timing chain. I wanted to point this out too. Timing chains, if this timing chain explodes, bad things happen and your engine's toast, because it's an interference engine, which means the valves are down. When the valves are down, if the piston comes up, they'll contact. But the chain, you see how the chain is tight? And I can't, like, it's very, these links should not be that tight, and they're sharp. When you start to get sharp, that means they're worn. So the cost of the chain's $25. So I don't know why you wouldn't replace the chain. A replaced chain can save you, $1,200, $2,000 in engine parts and bits and pieces. But that's where we sit. And I guess I'm going to end this one here, and we'll see what he wants to do. I mean, hopefully it doesn't cheap out, but like I said, not my bike, not my decision. But right on. Still working on the sled. The sled's kind of on hold. That's why I kind of jumped over to this. The sled is on hold. The jack shaft was seized in the motor mount on this side, and in order to get things back together, you have to have the motor mount in, and the jack shaft has to slide into the motor mount. It's weird. So the jack shaft has to be inside the chain case, and the chain case slides down. At the same time, you have to like twist it and turn it under into the engine mount and then lock it all down. Big job. Big job, big job. Okay, and then ending this one here. Later.